What did you see last night? Where do you want to start?
Dan, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me on, man. Always a big fan of you guys. Always been great to me. So, the question is, where do you want to start? I mean, there was so much that happened in that game.
All right. Well, let me start with Jaden Daniels, and I want to know, with being a rookie quarterback, most important element of a rookie quarterback, is it the head coach, the offensive coordinator, or is it the tools around the quarterback? If you had to pick one of those three.
Yeah, Dan, I think it's all three. To answer your question specifically, I think it's the tools around the quarterback. But I think that goes for not just a rookie QB, but for any quarterback. For him to have Scary Terry McLaurin there, a true bona fide number one wide receiver, to have Austin Eckler there. I know he went out in the game with a concussion, but his presence there on third downs throughout the season has been phenomenal. Of course, Brian Robinson also being there. And then Zach Ertz. We mentioned all these guys, and every single one of them showed up big in the game. Scary Terry had the big catch at the end. He also had the 55-yard completion early in the game, taking the top off the defense. Zach Ertz had the huge fourth down conversion, and Eckler had the huge kickoff return. But, for me, it's with Jayden Daniels, it's like a star wasn't born last night because he was already a star. But he is now the brightest light that we have coming out of Washington, D.C., and that includes anyone who becomes the president of the United States. Because in D.C., there's no better city to win in my opinion, than in Washington, D.C.
Well, the star didn't come out. We validated the star, it feels like, because it's sort of a standalone game. And
Yeah.
now, if this is a 1 o'clock game on Sunday, people might go, "Oh, I saw the highlights." When
Yes.
you need to see the totality of a game, certainly with a rookie, to go, he had a good game or he didn't have a good game, because stats can lie when we just show the highlights there. Can
Yes.
you run smart? Like, how do you run smart if you're Jaden Daniels?
Yeah. I think his game is more than just the running, Dan. When you look at the way that it went, um, first and foremost, I think Jaden Daniels gives DC hope they haven't had in over a decade. And that shows up when he makes the big throw down the field to Terry McLaurin, even though they're in quarters coverage. And he looks off the safety. He doesn't just stare him down, and he makes that throw. And if you actually go back and watch the tape, he made that throw slightly late, which shows you how much arm talent he has and how much arm strength he has, that he was able to make up for being just like a half a second late on the throw to drop a dime into Scary Terry McLaurin. But I know there's a lot of people out there breaking down tape, Dan, and I just have to say that unless you play the position, you'll never understand how special of a performance what Jayden Daniels did last night was. On 4th and 4 on Cincy's 39-yard line, and they're trying to determine, are they going to go for it? He tells the coach, let's go, has ice in his veins, and completes a nice stop route to Zach Ertz for a first down. And then, of course, I think everyone's broken down the touchdown pass, at the end against cover zero. Everyone in the world, in the football world, should I say, knew that Lou Anarumo was going to call cover zero. And for Cliff Kingsbury to have the cojones to trust his rookie quarterback to throw a double move against cover zero shows you how much the coaches there in that organization believe in Jayden Daniels. But then the throw itself, him having his eyes in the right place, gaining depth out of the drop to make sure he had enough time to stare down the barrel of the shotgun, knowing that he's going to get hit, waits just long enough and still makes the throw. I think what a lot of people don't understand is he didn't even see how much of a dime he threw, Dan, until his friends and family showed him after the game. That's how hard he got hit. And they weren't showing
Yeah,
that replay in Cincy. So for him
yeah.
to make that type of play in that moment, to me, it wipes out all the conversation about how does he run? Is there a safe way to run? Because what he showcased last night was his prowess as a thrower. And I was trying to stress that to everybody in the offseason. Yes, he's the most dynamic runner in all of college football, but he was also the most dynamic passer, throwing the football down the field. And he showed that off time and time again against the Bengals.
You think he's better than Caleb Williams?
That's a great question. But I stated very specifically that I thought Caleb Williams was the number one quarterback in the draft, but that I believe that Jayden Daniel was the most explosive quarterback, both as a runner and as a passer. And I think
Okay.
that's, to me, Dan, you know how this thing goes and how the draft, formulates and how all the storylines get created. But this isn't a Caleb Williams versus Jayden Daniels thing to me. This isn't a CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young. I think it's a battle or a fight upon expectations. And when you give a quarterback like Caleb Williams, who's ultra talented, been working since he's 6 years old to be in this position, you give him three number one wide receivers, a dynamic running back, a solid offensive line, and a defense that everybody expected to be top 10, expectations are through the roof. So now he's playing like a rookie. They're 1-2, and people are panicking. For Jayden Daniels in Washington, there were no expectations. I don't know who you picked for the game, Dan, but I don't think anybody picked Washington other than myself and true Washington Commanders fans. So he has taken an opportunity where there was no expectations, and now he's turned it into an opportunity to lead not just a team, but an entire city. So I think that's where the comparison between him and Caleb Williams kind of goes awry because they're in two totally different situations with totally different expectations.